Now in the today's session we will discuss about the ASP.NET database connection. In this series ASP.NET, for the today we will just discuss about how you can establish the connectivity through any database. We will consider MS Microsoft SQL Server, then and in coming videos we will discuss about how you can insert records, delete the record, update the records. Today just we have to discuss two things. Let's see that about the session. In the today's tutorial we will learn about fundamentals of database connectivity and ASP.NET database connection. So these are the two objectives for the today's session. Now let me explain one by one. Fundamentals of database connectivity. ASP.NET has the ability to work with a majority of databases, the most common being Oracle and Microsoft SQL Server. But with every database, the logic behind working with all of them is mostly the same. While working with databases, the following concepts which are common across all databases. First, connection. To work with data in a database, the first obvious step is the connection. The connection to a database normally consists of the below mentioned parameters. First, database name or data source. The first important parameter is the database name. Each connection can only work with one database at a time. Next, credential. The next important aspect is the username and password. This is used to establish a connection to the database. Next, there are optional parameters. We can specify optional parameters on how .NET should handle the connection to the database. For example, one can specify a parameter for how long the connection should stay active. Now the next thing is selecting the data from the database. Once the connection is established, data is fetched from the database. ASP.NET has the ability to execute SQL select command against the database. The SQL statement can be used to fetch data from a specific table in the database. Next, insert the data into the database. ASP.NET is used to insert record into the database. Values for each row that needs to be inserted in the database are specified in ASP.NET. Next, updating data into the database. ASP.NET can also be used to update existing records into the database. New values can be specified in ASP.NET for each row that needs to be updated into the database, and as delete the data from the database. ASP.NET can also be used to delete records from the database. The code is written to delete a particular row from the database. So these are the some basic fundamental concept while we are establishing the connectivity with the data source, or we can say the database. So in the today's session we just mainly focus on how you can establish the connection using code. Our next coming videos, then we will discuss how you can insert, how you can update, and how you can delete the data from the database. So now we will move to the next thing. ASP.NET database connection. Let's now look at the code which needs to be kept in place to create a connection to a database. In our example, we will connect to a database which has the name of DemoDB. The credential used to connect to the database are given below: username SA and the password demo123. Let's work with our current application. Start adding database operation to it. Our example looks at establishing a simple connection. This connection is made to the DemoDB database. This is done when the page is first launched. When the connection is established, a message will be sent to the user. The message will indicate that the connection has been established. Let's follow the below mentioned steps to achieve this. Step 1, let's first ensure that you have your web application like demo application opened in the Visual Studio. Double click the demo aspx.cs file to enter the code for the database connection. See this Solution Explorer and demo aspx.cs. Double click on it, then it code window will be open for database connection. Now move to the next step. Step 2, add the following code which will be used to establish a connection to the database. See that. After double click on the aspx.cs file, then in the code window you will write this first variable declaration. See that, a string, connection string. So connection string is a variable type of a string. Then SQL connection CNN. CNN is a type of SQL connection. After that, second, set the connection string. Connection string equal to @ in double quotes first data source equal to when hyphen 50zp 30fz075 को semicolon initial catalog equal to demo db semicolon user id equal to sa semicolon password equal to demo 123. Just we have discussed in the previous slides. The database name is demo db, the user id sa, and the password is demo 123. Now the next thing, assign a connection CNN equal to new SQL connection of connection string. So here we have to assign the connection and CNN. Then next, open and close the connection. CNN dot open function, connection will be open. Then response dot write, connection made. And then last, CNN dot close. After the successfully operation, we have to close this connection. So this is the code we can write in the aspx.cs file to establish the connection. Okay, now to explain in detail in the next slide. See this, a code explanation according to the point. First, the first step is to create a variable. It will be used to create the connection string and the connection to the SQL Server database. Second, the next step is to actually create the connection string. The connection string consists of of the following parts. First, data source. This is the name of the server on which the database resides. In our case, it resides on a machine called Win50ZP30FZ075. Then the initial catalog is used to specify the name of the database. Then user ID and password are the credential required to connect the database. Next, we assign the connection string to the variable CNN. The variable CNN is of type SQL connection. This is used to establish a connection to the database. SQL connection is a class in ASP.NET which is used to create a connection to a database. To use this class, you have to first create an object of this class. Hence, here we create a variable called CNN, which is of the type SQL connection. Next, we use the open method of the CNN variable to open a connection to the database. We display a message to the user that the connection is established. This is done via response.write method. We then close the connection to the database. So these are but the code explanation which we have to return and the ASP.cs file for establishing the database connection. Thank you for the today's session. I hope you have to understand about how you can establish the database connection. In the next coming video, we can focus on how you can insert or how you can update and how you can delete the record from the database. Thank you all of you.